Are you not worried at all about Democrats taking the heat for the shutdown?
We know, and the American people are not going to have the wool pulled over their eyes. Everybody knows that Donald Trump is president, that Republicans have the Senate, and Republicans have the House. They have the keys to the entire United States government. And if Republicans wanted to avert a shutdown, they can.
If a shutdown were to occur right now, the Republicans and Trump would be blamed. He simply said, I'm okay with the Republicans' 6-month plan. F it, I'll just vote yes for it. When you have that many prominent Democrats basically saying this is, if you vote yes for this, it's a mistake, then it's a mistake, Chuck. Let's see what, this is AOC commenting on the shutdown situation. She did go, for those who were keeping track of that, she did go against the sort of establishment Dems position. If you look at, I mean, really everybody pushed back against Schumer. We had AOC pushing back against Schumer. We had Jeffries. We had Nancy freaking Pelosi, dude. I was blown away when she promoted a no vote for Chuck Schumer. So
yeah, that's crazy.
I saw some video thumbnails and stuff of this topic earlier from like Fox News, and of course they're using the language that it's like the Dems are in disarray, and it's like, dude, you guys are prepping your viewers for nothing. You guys are not prepping your viewers for this blue wave that's going to happen in the next couple years. I am so convinced that the Republicans have buried themselves. We're going to see how this Wisconsin state Supreme Court seat goes, you know, and if it ends up, I'm just saying, I'm not trying to predict, but I'm saying if that ends up being a decisive victory for Democrats, you Republicans, you guys are fucking cooked in the next couple of years. You guys are so cooked. That's all I'll say about that.
So on social media, you've been urging people to call their senators, tell them to vote no on cloture, which allows the bill to go forward for a vote of just a simple majority, and to vote no on the vote for a simple majority on the Republican bill. What do you say to the counter argument of like a government shutdown hurts the country, hurts the people you represent from Queens and the Bronx?
Absolutely, and that is why House Democrats have laid out a plan, as well as several Senate Democrats laid out a plan to keep government open for another 30 days as Republicans negotiate a deal with Democrats in order to have an extended government funding bill.
But the House would have to come back into session, right?
But House Democrats are in town. I mean, we're afraid of working? Is that the problem here? That the idea that, God forbid,
we know Republicans
members of Congress have to fly back and do their jobs? I mean, okay. Genuinely, come on.
So Chuck Schumer, I guess the Senate Democratic leader, your senator, said at this meeting that he is going to vote for cloture. He is going to vote to allow there to be a simple majority vote. You think that's wrong?
I believe that's a tremendous mistake. Yes.
Why?
I think, well, first and foremost, the American people, if anyone has held a town hall or has seen what has been happening in town halls, American people, whether they are Republicans, independents, Democrats, are up in arms about Elon Musk and the actual gutting of federal agencies across the board. This continuing resolution codifies much of this chaos that Elon Musk is wreaking havoc on the federal government. It codifies many of those changes. It sacrifices and completely eliminates congressional authority in order to review these impulsive Trump tariffs that he's switching on and off. And on top of that, for folks who are concerned about effectiveness in government, this Republican extreme spending bill removes all of the guardrails and all of the accountability measures to ensure that money is being spent in the way that Congress has directed for it to be spent. This turns the federal government into a slush fund for Donald Trump and Elon Musk. It sacrifices congressional authority, and it is deeply partisan. And so to me, it is almost unthinkable why Senate Democrats would vote to hand the few pieces of leverage that we have away for free when we've been sent here to protect Social Security, protect Medicaid, and protect Medicare.
You have expressed opposition to government shutdowns in the past. Here's your very first speech on the House floor.
It
It is not normal to shut down the government when we don't get what we want. It is not normal for public servants to run away and hide from the public that they serve. And it is certainly not normal to starve the people we serve for a proposal that is wildly unpopular among the American people.
Now, I get that you hate this continuing resolution. You don't think it's a good bill, but the alternative is likely a government shutdown.
Well, the alternative is to agree on a 30-day stopgap to keep government open as negotiated. The proposal is in front of the House. The proposal is on the Senate. Republicans had time to seek Democratic votes, and we can extend that time for them to seek that vote. Once again, we can come back. We can fly back. We can vote on this. We can get a stopgap measure, extend the amount of time to negotiate while we figure out a solution here for the American people. And I also agree, again, I maintain that position that government shutdowns, we can keep the government open with a 30-day clean CR. And on top of that, I also maintain the position that government officials and public servants should not be hiding from the public the way that Republicans are hiding and being instructed to not host town halls right now because of the outrage among the American public around their attempts to cut Social Security, Medicaid, and Medicare.
My understanding is that your other senator, another Democrat, Kirsten Gillibrand, also thinks that the Democrats should vote to go forward with the spending bill, unlike Senator Tim Kaine that we just heard from. And my guess is, I don't speak for either Schumer or Gillibrand, but my guess would be if they were here, they'd say, you're being naive. It's really just a choice between voting for a government shutdown or voting not for a government shutdown. People aren't going to come back. It just doesn't happen that way. Again, that's not me. I imagine that that's what they would say to you.
Yeah. I mean, I understand that Senate Democrats think that it is beyond wildest convention for us to come back, but House Democrats have done that before. The House has reconvened in emergency sessions before. I've certainly voted on the floor of Congress they've even called us back from August recess before. This idea that it is beyond the scope of imagination for us to come back from vacation is just not an acceptable answer for the American public.
I want to play something that President Trump said earlier today. Take a listen.
If it's shut down, it's only going to be, if there's a shutdown, it's only because of the Democrats, and they would really be taking away a lot from our country and from the people of our country.
Your colleagues, House Republicans, are already...
As always, the most detailed and thought out answer you could imagine. No vague inferences whatsoever from Donald Trump. Holy shit.
Using the term Schumer shutdown, which has that nice alliterative style. Are you not worried at all about Democrats taking the heat for the shutdown?
We know, and the American people are not going to have the wool pulled over their eyes. Everybody knows that Donald Trump is president, that Republicans have the Senate, and Republicans have the House. They have the keys to the entire United States government. And if Republicans wanted to avert a shutdown, they can. They can. They can, if they need Democratic votes, then they can negotiate with Democrats to get those votes. It is simple. They have two options, to pass it with their votes or to pass it with Democratic votes. And we also see the data bearing this out. When you look at public polling from very reputable firms, we see that the American people understand that, and they know that the party in charge of government is the party that's in charge of keeping government open.
What do you think of the job Democratic leaders are doing, not just Senate Democratic leaders, but also Hakeem Jeffries, the Democratic leader in the House, your fellow New Yorker, in terms of standing up to Trump?
Well, when we look at this vote around this government funding bill that we saw this week, Leader Hakeem Jeffries was able to keep the entire House Democratic caucus united and together.
Except for Jared Golden.
Right.
Except for
every
one.
single House Democrat, including every single House Democrat who won a Trump district, except for one out of over 200, voted against this deeply partisan, extreme Republican spending bill. Not just because they're Democrats, but because they know it's bad for the country. This bill is bad for the country. And so I think that in terms of Democratic leadership in the House, we've seen that result in the House. I think it's time that we see similar results in the Senate.
Would you, what do you think of the job that Chuck Schumer is doing? Would you ever challenge him, do you think?
I think that what we need right now is a united Senate Democratic caucus that can stand up for this country and not vote for cloture and not vote for this bill. And I think that the strength that we have is in this moment. Reconciliation and all of these, Republicans do not need Democratic votes for that. They need it for this. And so the strength of our leadership in this moment is going to demonstrate the strength of our caucus. And I cannot urge enough how bad of an idea it is to empower and enable Donald Trump and Elon Musk in this moment. It is dangerous and it is reckless.
Well, you just talked about the strength of your leadership. Chuck Schumer just said that he's going to vote for cloture. Not only the Democrats can do it, but he's going to participate in it. Does that mean that you think he's a weak Senate leader?
I think that that would be a mistake. But we have time between now and tomorrow, and I hope
it's a good
that
dodge.
individuals that are considering that reconsider it. I genuinely do. I don't think it's what New Yorkers want. I don't think it's what the country wants. This is genuinely not about Democrats or Republicans. This is about deep cuts to Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. This is about the evisceration of the federal government. This is about codifying the looting that is happening at the behest of Elon Musk in order to pay for his tax breaks for billionaires. And we have a responsibility to stand up for it. That is why people elected us, and that is our responsibility to them right now.
I completely agree with her. I mean, I completely agree with her. I wanted to add a little note. It was pretty clear there with those last couple questions that Tapper was trying to get her to have a stronger critique. We'll just say it politely, I guess. He was trying to get her to show a stronger critique of Chuck Schumer, and to get, he used the word weak. I mean, fuck, I'll say it. It is incredibly weak. It is so unbelievably weak that Chuck Schumer and again, it's not that, and I understand that there's sort of two sides to this coin. It's that you can look at it from a realistic perspective in that you focus on the outcome, right? And I feel like that's what Chuck Schumer's calculus was. If you focus on the outcome, yes, the Democrats, when we are not in the majority, suggesting a 30-day CR to keep negotiations going, that does two things. That communicates that that our preference is not to have a shutdown. But it does the flip side to that is that it communicates that we are willing to allow a shutdown to happen if our proposal is not what is being voted upon. And I think ultimately it would have forced the Republicans to come to the negotiating table, blah, blah, blah. I am with the polling, and I'm with the takes I've heard, which is that if a shutdown were to occur right now, the Republicans and Trump would be blamed. Why? Because they're in the majority. And typically when the Democrats are in the majority, but we have something like this type of bill where we have a CR that requires a 2/3, or I guess it's 3/5. Sorry, 3/5. It requires a 3/5 majority of the Senate, 60 votes. We would be trying to negotiate with Republicans to get some of their votes, period.
Yeah.
From what I've seen and heard, Chuck Schumer literally did none of that. There was no negotiating being done. It is that he simply said, I'm okay with the Republicans' 6-month plan. Fuck it. I'll just vote yes for it.
From what I know, the Republicans didn't even offer anything. The Republicans didn't even try to negotiate.
Well, that sounds about right. And that tracks CQC because they've claimed that they have a mandate. If
If they had a mandate, they wouldn't need the votes from the Democrats.
No, you're obviously correct. They would have a super majority in the Senate, like Obama
but they
did.
don't have a mandate. Yeah, like Obama did, exactly. Obama had a mandate.
Yeah, so a margin of 77 million to 75 million is about 1.8%. We've said this over and over again, people. That is not a mandate. That does not constitute a mandate. If Trump has a mandate with 1.8% of the popular vote margin, then Joe Biden had a landslide at 4.5%. That's more than double the margin when he won in 2020. You guys don't even realize when you make this bizarre, weird statement that it's a fucking mandate. You guys don't even realize how stupid it is, how foolish it is. That you're saying that Joe Biden had a landslide, and I know Joe Biden did have a landslide.
Also,
I know how elections work.
They might think it's a mandate just because there's so few of them. It's that 1.5% or whatever is like a huge victory.
Up against the sheer odds, I suppose.
Yeah, that's probably why they think it is.
Or if they think all the elections are rigged, they'll be like, bro, if we won the popular vote at 1.8%, then that means we actually won it by like 32%. Dude, come on. You know that's a fact.
Yeah,
you know that. It's obvious. It's obvious, bro.
They would make a stupid claim like that, no problem.
Let me find this Joe Rogan clip where he talks about this. You know, that's what I expect that conversation. That's how I would expect that conversation to go.
Yeah.
So you have the first perspective I was talking about, which is that Chuck Schumer was looking at it. He was, to me, only looking at it like he was looking at it purely from the realistic perspective and not from, I guess, what could you say, like the altruistic perspective, the principled perspective, dare I say. I think that's a good way to put it. That's the way I'm going to look at this, is that the Democrats in the House, including AOC, including Nancy Pelosi, and including Hakeem Jeffries. When was the last time that those three agreed on the same thing, by the way? When you have that many Democrats, that many prominent Democrats, basically saying this is, if you vote yes for this, it's a mistake, then it's a fucking mistake, Chuck. You fucked up, Chuck. You just did, dude. Like, I just, oh my God.
Him and like all the what was there, 9 other Democrats that voted for the bill? Like him and all of them are all going to regret it in the future, in their future.
I think
election.
they will. Fetterman's probably just going to
get primary.
Right. Well, Fetterman doesn't give a fuck. He's not going to be a Democrat the next time he runs anyway. That fucker's going to run as a Republican. I guarantee it.
Yeah, he probably will.
Yeah. So I'm not even gonna think about Fetterman because I'm just like, anytime I see him, I'm gonna like erase the D and just put an R there every fucking time, because that's who Fetterman basically is now. Is he's worse. I think he's worse than Joe Manchin. I actually kind of miss Joe Manchin, because 90% of the Biden agenda that went through the Senate, Joe Manchin voted for what the Democrats wanted 90% of the time. In a very red state, very purple state, we'll say West Virginia. It is pretty red. But in that type of state, West Virginia, for Joe Manchin to vote with Biden 90% of the time is immense. Now you have John fucking Fetterman, who's a fake, like literally a fake Democrat. He's just not even a Democrat anymore, dude. The alternative is so much worse. But I think that's kind of what you have, is you have sort of like the principled perspective, which is like, no, we shouldn't. We should be willing to accept the possibility of a shutdown, because it's on the Republicans. The Republicans, it's on their onus, if you ask me, to try and do the thing that Democrats do, which is negotiate to get more Democratic votes. Not they should simply have Democratic votes because shut down bad. It's like we this is the way you and I talked about it earlier this week, CQC, is yes, shut down bad, but also Doge, Musk, Trump and their firings and all the crazy things that they're doing with gutting various agencies and whatnot, that is also hugely bad. That is also hugely bad. And it's not like Elon Musk is physically going into the IRS database, plugging in his own flash drive that has a server running on it, networking that shit, getting the data. He's not doing it himself because I don't think he truthfully knows how to do that shit. He's having these little 20-something Doge employees do all this work, all these like little hacker boys and cybersec boys. He's having all them go do it, right? So if you don't fund the government, you could potentially hinder their efforts. They also need cooperation from these agencies. Yes, they might have people that won't let them in, that won't do this, that, or the other, but eventually they get someone who lets them into these government buildings, right? If those people aren't being paid, I mean, it might actually be in some cases it might be more difficult to get into the building. I don't know. All I know is that the damage was being done any way you shake it. What Musk and Doge are doing is already fucking bad. And it's going to continue to happen because once a judge swats them down on something, it seems that they move on to something else, right? Because I think I pointed out a few weeks ago that once they have data that they're looking for, they have the data. Even if a judge orders them out of that building at that point, they'll be like, okay, that's fine. We got what we needed. And then they're going to leave. That's what's going to happen. It's not like they're going to just delete the data on a pinky swear or some fucking shit. They're just going to keep the data, right? Yep. Even if a judge orders them to do so, they're not going to. There's just no way. They seem to have convinced either themselves or the public or both that this is their right to do this, is that they have a mandate to go through and just indiscriminately just slash and burn all these federal jobs, all these federal agencies, to try and gut them of resources, of employees, of time, whatever. Crazy shit. And to me, Democrats need to be they need to be getting in the way of the Republicans, because we're of the belief, based in fact, that this is not a mandate. Because of that, we should not be letting them treat this like a mandate. And that's what Chuck Schumer did, is by not pushing back and saying, nah, we don't want to fund this 6-month garbage. We really need this 30-day extension while you guys continue to negotiate your budget and we can keep the government open. We need you to sign on to this, Republicans, because we're not just going to let you guys go through and do all these crazy cuts and let Doge do their thing. So I think you're going to continue to see things get worse. Just to put a nice bow on this, I think we're going to continue to see things get worse. We're going to see that more and more. I don't think that this is going to go away for Schumer. I really don't think this is going to go away for Schumer. I think that there will be a way to sort of link whatever the fallout is of this. I think there will be a way to link it back to Chuck Schumer and those other 8 or 9 whatever Democrats to signing on to this 6-month CR. Think you will be able to pin it back on them. And I think it's going to be used to set up key primary races in the next couple of years. People don't realize how far away this stuff is. Even if Chuck Schumer isn't up for re-election for another, I don't think he's up in 26. I want to say he's up in maybe 2028, something like that. I mean, you're queuing up other Democrats who might be coming up for re-election in 26. You might be getting other Democrats ready to potentially knock some pretty big players off of their pedestal. You watch if like old school establishment Dems start getting beat by more progressive candidates. Watch Chuck Schumer. You watch the fuck out.
Yeah, I think that's what we're going to see for sure. Is that these longtime established Democrats that are up there in age, they're going to get knocked. I think they're all going to get knocked out, no matter where they stood on this bill. Just because the left, or the left side, the left-leaning voters are going to be they're done. I think they're just done, and they want younger, more aggressive candidates in office.
Yep. Yeah, I think we're finally ready to have the progressive wing of the Democratic Party. I think we're finally ready to enable them to be as annoying and obstructionist as the Tea Party and MAGA Republicans have been the last handful of years. The MAGA wing of the Republican Party literally has, as we've seen time and time again, they literally just anytime the rest of the party seems to resist, with a couple of exceptions, anytime the rest of their party seems to resist, they somehow find a way to whip them over. They somehow find a way to whip them over onto the MAGA agenda, and they do it by seemingly the threat of a primary vote, right? And I think that the Democrats can pull the same exact thing.